A common story among elite level sprinters is that when they first started sprinting, they won their races without even practicing, simply because of the natural talent that they had. Some of these stories include Andre De Grasse running under 11 seconds on his first attempt in high school without using starting blocks, while Marvin Bracey, who was dedicating his main focus to football, ran 10.82 in his first ever race, and a few weeks later ran a windy 10.19, aged just 16.
My first ever 100, I ran 1082. My first ever. That was my sophomore year of high school. I won a state championship a couple weeks later. I ran 1019.
That's fast, dog.
With naturally talented athletes, their physical structure and nervous system tends to be suited to running fast, regardless of what kind of motion they adopt while running. In some cases, an athlete will have a body structure whereby they're naturally inclined to run with proper form. In the case of Andre De Grasse, he initially ran with a wild arm swing and lack of head and core stability, yet he was still able to cover ground fast thanks to his foot speed and light frame.
I do want to go back to when you first discovered Andre. What was it about him that caught your eye?
I had no idea who this guy shows up and runs 10.9. I've never seen him before. That's 10.9 is usually a benchmark that we kind of use as potential in terms of talent. You know, got him out to the club and started working with them on a few things. This guy's not the normal average talent. You know?
Here's footage from a regional competition in 2012. This is one of De Grasse's first races. He laced up and blew everyone away with his speed and unconventional style.
When he was running, his head was all over the place, his arms were all over the place. I didn't know if he was running or wailing or screaming for help.
A lack of stability while running can often make an athlete think that they're running faster because it makes them feel like they're exerting more effort as they're fighting to cover the ground quicker, when in fact it's preventing them from running faster. When an athlete runs with proper form, the ease with which they can move can make them think they're running slower than they actually are.
And to tell the truth, I think that was one of the slowest races I ever ran in my head.
Yeah,
really? Because I said it a lot. Matter of fact, I didn't know I ran 10.54. It's Brianna came out, like she just grabbed me. Right. And then when I wait until the name came on the board, I see 10.5 when I crunched my fist like this. I was like, what the hell? Me not feel like 10.54. Right. Like, I didn't feel it, but people are saying, when you not feel it. I normally said, if you're run fast,
when you don't feel it.
When you're doing the correct thing, you're not going to feel it. If you're trying to run fast, you're going to feel like it's the fastest race, but it's the slowest race ever. I was pretty much relaxed, but that's when I get the 10.54.
So as Elaine Thompson explained, when she was doing the right things to make her run correctly, she didn't feel like she was running fast, despite it being her fastest ever race. Fred Curley is an athlete who focused on running the 400 metres throughout college and in his early professional career. The 400 metres requires a focus on pacing and is a less technical event than the 100 metres, since your start, knee lift and heel recovery are more important factors in the 100 metres than the 400. When Curley switched over to the 100 metres, he kept his head down in the initial stages of the race and would quickly tilt his head up once he decided he had transitioned to upright running. A more optimal way of transitioning from the start to upright running is to keep your torso and head aligned while gradually tilting both up to the same degree. Keeping his head down regardless of how upright his body was is likely a cue he used to try remain in his drive phase as long as possible, but the fact that he could run sub 10 seconds on his first season focusing on the 100 metres is something to be admired. On a podcast featuring Fred Curley, he stated that his knowledge on the 100 metres was just a 1 if he had to rank it on a scale of 1 to 10.
On a scale from 1 to 10, where do you think you are with what you know about the 100 metres?
I'm going to say 1. My ass just running.
This supports the idea that with enough athletic ability and enough time dedicated to training, even if training for a longer sprint like the 400, an athlete can become a 100 metre world champion without having the most optimal running form compared to his competitors. Pascal Mancini is an athlete who ran with unusual form early on in his career. In this race from the 2011 Lausanne Diamond League, you can see that his legs appear to be moving forward in an arcing motion, rather than directly in front of him, which is a more optimal motion since the fastest way from point A to point B is in a straight line. Given how built Mancini is in terms of quad muscle, it is possible that his leg weight was making it difficult for Mancini to drive his leg straight forward, so he adapted to an arcing motion. Mancini ran a time of 10.58 in that race, which was around the average time recorded in his 100 metre races that season while he was aged 22. At age 33, Mancini ran a new personal best time of 10.20, while also winning his heat in the European Athletics Championships and coming close to making it into the final, running 10.23 in the semi. When we observe Mancini's form now, we can see the sidewards motion with his legs has reduced significantly, and it may be the case that he worked on increasing his mobility over the years to become more flexible, which in turn would allow him to achieve a better running form. I say that he increased his flexibility because he seems to have maintained the same level of musculature throughout his entire career, so it doesn't seem to be the case of his sprint motion changing due to losing mass. Mancini's improvement shows us that an improvement of 0.2 of a second can be made by making changes to running form, with his level of fitness likely being quite similar at both 22 and 33. One athlete who improved his speed drastically after reaching his physical prime is Marcel Jacobs. In 2016, when Jacobs was 21 years old, he had a 100 meter personal best of 10.23. At 24, he managed to lower this time to 10.03, and at 26 he made even more significant progress by lowering it to 9.80. Throughout this time, Jacobs didn't change much physically, but what we can see are some clear adjustments to his running form, which made a large contribution to improving his speed. Jacobs was dividing his focus between the long jump and the 100 metres for most of his career, but between 2018 and 2020, the least amount of races he ran in a season was 14, so he was clearly focusing on improving his 100 metres in this time. Here we have footage from a race in 2018 where Jacobs finished with a time of 10.28. Here we have footage from 2019 where he finished in 10.07. Here we have footage where he finished in 9.95. And finally, here we have footage where he ran his best ever race, finishing in 9.80. We can see clear changes to his running form throughout this time period that takes him from an average performer among top level athletes to the best in the world. While 10.2 is a fast 100 meter time by anyone's standards, Jacobs' improvement just goes to show that if you run properly, you can't help but run faster, because you need to run fast in order to maintain elite level form. Focusing on lifting your knees high while sprinting likely isn't going to make a drastic improvement to how fast you run, because the knee lift typically comes as a result of how you apply force to the ground, and you need to be applying a lot of force relative to your body weight for your knees to naturally rebound high during your leg cycle. In this video, I posed the question of whether you can run fast with bad form, and some sprinters with outstanding athleticism have shown that it can be done. But to ask the inverse question, whether you can run slow with great form, it appears that the answer is no, because reaching near perfect form first requires you to be running at great velocity, which must come as a result of applying large ground forces relative to your body weight. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe for more videos on how to improve your speed coming soon.